She caught them in her bed, her husband and her sister, bodies intertwined like they'd done this 1,000 times before, and when she ran into the rain that night, a man in a black suit offered her revenge, wrapped in expensive cologne and a smile that promised she'd never be the same. Welcome to K-fairytales stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. The sound Amina made wasn't quite a scream, more like all the air being punched from her lungs at once. She stood frozen in the doorway of her own bedroom, her grocery bag slipping from numb fingers, oranges rolling across hardwood floors she'd polished just that morning. The bedroom was dim, lit only by the amber glow of the bedside lamp she'd bought for their second anniversary, and in that soft light, she could see everything. Her husband Marcus, his dark skin gleaming with sweat, his body moving over her twin sister Zara. Their limbs tangled in sheets Amina had washed yesterday, Zara's head thrown back, her curly hair, identical to Amina's own, spread across the pillow on Amina's side of the bed. They didn't notice her at first, too lost in each other, in whatever this was that they'd been doing behind her back. How long? The question burned through her shock like acid. How long had they been doing this? Zara opened her eyes first. For one terrible second, their identical gazes met across the room, brown eyes to brown eyes, and Amina saw no shame there, no guilt, just irritation at being interrupted. "Marcus," Zara said, her voice breathy. "We have company." Marcus froze, then turned his head. His expression cycled through surprise, annoyance, and finally settled on something like defiance. He didn't scramble to cover himself, didn't leap out of bed with apologies tumbling from his lips. He just looked at Amina like she was an inconvenience. "How long?" Amina's voice came out steady, which surprised her. Inside, she was imploding, collapsing into a black hole of betrayal, but outside she was eerily calm. "Does it matter?" Marcus sat up, shameless, reaching for his boxers with casual ease. "You were going to find out eventually. How long?" Each word was a bullet. "Since she moved in," Zara said, propping herself up on one elbow. She looked so much like Amina, it was like watching her own reflection betray her. Same round face, same full lips, same curves. But where Amina had always been the careful one, the responsible one, Zara had been wild, reckless. 6 months, maybe 7 months. Amina had welcomed Zara into their home 7 months ago, when Zara called crying about losing her marketing job, needing a place to stay, needing help getting back on her feet. Amina had given her sister everything: a room, food, money for interviews, comfort during long nights when Zara claimed the job search was destroying her confidence. She'd held her twin while she cried, had told her everything would be okay, had promised they'd get through it together because that's what family did. That's what twins did. And the whole time, Zara had been climbing into bed with Marcus. "Get out," Amina whispered. "This is my house too," Marcus said, pulling on his jeans. "My name is on the lease. Both of you, get out of my sight. Baby, come on." Marcus had the audacity to sound annoyed. "Don't be dramatic. It just happened, okay? These things happen. For 7 months? It just happened for 7 months?" Amina's calm was cracking, rage seeping through the fissures. "In my bed? In my home? You were never really here anyway," Zara said, sitting up fully now, making no move to cover herself. "Always working, always busy, always too tired. What did you expect him to do?" The words hit like a slap. Amina had been working double shifts at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, trying to save money for the baby they'd been planning. The baby Marcus said he wanted, the baby they'd been trying for over a year to conceive. "I was working," Amina said slowly, "to save for our future. The future you told me you wanted." "Yeah, well," Marcus shrugged. "Plans change." Something inside Amina shattered. Not her heart, that had already broken. Something deeper. Some fundamental belief in the goodness of people, in the sanctity of family, in the meaning of love. It shattered into so many pieces, she knew she'd never put it back together. She turned and walked out of the bedroom. Behind her, she heard Zara laugh, high and cruel, so different from the sister who used to braid her hair and share secrets in the dark. Amina grabbed her purse from the kitchen counter, left everything else. The apartment they'd built together, the life they'd planned, the dreams she'd nurtured like fragile seeds. She left it all and walked out into the Seoul night. The rain started as soon as she hit the street, cold and merciless, soaking through her thin work scrubs within seconds. She walked without direction, without purpose, just away. Away from the apartment, away from the betrayal, away from the image of her husband and her sister burned into her brain like a brand. Her phone buzzed, Marcus calling. She threw it into a trash can without breaking stride. The streets of Gangnam blurred around her, all neon signs and luxury cars and beautiful people living beautiful lives. She'd always felt like an outsider in this neighborhood, a Nigerian nurse in one of Seoul's wealthiest districts. But Marcus had insisted. He worked in tech, made good money, wanted the prestigious address. She'd agreed, because making him happy had been her purpose for 3 years. She didn't realize she was sobbing until she couldn't catch her breath, until she had to stop walking and lean against a building, gasping like she was drowning on dry land. The rain mixed with her tears, and she didn't know where one ended and the other began. "Excuse me." A smooth voice, speaking English with a refined Korean accent. "Are you all right?" Amina looked up. A man stood a few feet away, holding a black umbrella that looked expensive enough to be a weapon. He was tall, Korean, probably in his early 30s, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that molded to a lean, powerful frame. His face was the kind of beautiful that belonged in magazines, all sharp angles and perfect symmetry, but his eyes were what caught her. Dark and intelligent and entirely focused on her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable but somehow wasn't. "I'm fine," she managed, which was such an obvious lie that he smiled slightly. "You're crying in the rain at midnight in Gangnam. That's many things, but fine isn't one of them." He moved closer, angling the umbrella to cover her. "I'm Kang Min-ho. I don't need help." But she was shaking now, shock settling in, her body finally catching up to what her mind had witnessed. "Perhaps not, but I'm offering it anyway." He shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It was warm from his body heat and smelled like expensive cologne and something else, something masculine and clean that made her head spin. "There's a cafe around the corner. Let me buy you something hot to drink." "Why?" She looked up at him, suspicious despite her devastation. "Why would you help a stranger?" Something flickered in his eyes, something dark and knowing. "Let's just say I recognize someone running from something, and I believe in collecting debts. I can't pay you back." "Who said anything about money?" His smile was slight, mysterious. "Come, you're soaked and in shock. 20 minutes in a warm cafe won't hurt." Amina knew she should refuse, should tell this beautiful stranger to leave her alone, should figure out her next move on her own. But she was so tired of being strong, of being responsible, of doing the right thing. And something about Kang Min-ho's presence was magnetic, pulling at her in ways she couldn't explain. 20 minutes, she whispered. 20 minutes, he agreed. The cafe was small and warm and blessedly empty at this hour. Min-ho ordered her hot chocolate without asking what she wanted, added something in Korean to the barista that made the young woman's eyes widen before she nodded quickly. They sat in a corner booth, and Min-ho positioned himself so his back was to the wall, where he could see the entire room. Military habit, maybe, or something else. "You're not Korean," he said, though it wasn't really a question. "Nigerian. I've been in Seoul for 4 years." The hot chocolate arrived and she wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her frozen fingers. "I'm a nurse. A noble profession." He hadn't ordered anything for himself, just watched her with those intense dark eyes. "And you're married." She glanced down at her left hand, at the simple gold band Marcus had placed there 3 years ago. "How did you know? You keep touching your ring like it burns, and you have that look. The one people get when something they believed in turns out to be a lie." His voice was gentle but clinical, like he was diagnosing a disease. "Husband?" She nodded, then found herself talking. The words spilled out like poison she needed to purge, about coming home early from her shift, about the groceries scattered on the floor, about Marcus and Zara tangled together in her bed. She told him everything, this stranger with kind eyes and an expensive suit, and he listened without judgment, without interruption. When she finally stopped talking, Her hot chocolate was cold and she felt hollowed out. "Your sister," Minho said quietly. "She's your twin?" "Yes, identical. We were close once, before tonight." Amina laughed, brittle. "I thought we were close. I thought I knew her." "People are rarely who we think they are." He leaned forward slightly. "What will you do now?" "I don't know. I can't go back there. Can't see them. Can't be in that apartment." She looked at him desperately. "I don't know what to do." Minho was quiet for a long moment, studying her face like he was reading a book. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapidly in Korean. When he hung up, he stood and offered his hand. "Come with me." "Where?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can think clearly." He saw her hesitation and added, "I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me help you for one night. Tomorrow, you can make whatever decisions you need to make. But tonight, you need sleep and safety." Amina knew this was dangerous, knew she was vulnerable and hurting, and this man could be anyone, could want anything. But something in his eyes promised safety, promised that whatever else he might be, he wouldn't hurt her. Not tonight. She took his hand. The car that pulled up was sleek and black and probably cost more than she'd make in 5 years. The driver opened the door without a word, and Minho guided her inside with a hand on her lower back, careful and proprietary all at once. They drove through Seoul in silence, the city lights blurring past the tinted windows. Amina watched Minho from the corner of her eye. He stared out his window, his profile sharp and perfect, and she wondered who he was. Really was. The suit screamed money. The car confirmed it. The way the barista had jumped at his request and the driver never questioned his orders suggested power. "Are you rich?" she asked suddenly. He turned to her, one eyebrow raised. "Yes." "Are you dangerous?" A smile ghosted across his lips. "Very. Should I be afraid of you?" "Probably." He shifted to face her fully. "But I promise you, Amina, whatever danger I represent, it's nothing compared to what you've already survived tonight, and I keep my promises." The building they stopped at was all glass and steel, rising into the night sky like a monument to wealth. Minho's hand was steady on her elbow as he guided her through a lobby where security guards bowed deeply, into a private elevator that required a keycard, up 40 floors to a penthouse that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. The furniture was modern and expensive, all clean lines and neutral colors. Art that probably belonged in museums hung on the walls. This wasn't just wealth. This was power. "The bedroom is through there." Minho pointed to a hallway. "There's a bathroom attached. You'll find clothes in the closet that should fit and toiletries in the bathroom. Take what you need." "Whose clothes?" "My assistant is your size. I'll have her bring more things tomorrow." He moved to the bar and poured himself a drink, whiskey by the look of it. "You're safe here. No one comes up without my permission." Amina stood in the middle of his living room, dripping on his expensive floors, and felt the tears start again. "Why are you helping me?" Minho turned, glass in hand, and looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Because 6 months ago, someone helped me when I needed it. Because you look like you need saving. And because..." He paused, took a sip of his drink. "Because something tells me you and I are going to be important to each other." The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it felt like an anchor in a storm. She went to the bedroom, found silk pajamas that fit perfectly, a bathroom that was bigger than her old bedroom, toiletries that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. She showered until the hot water ran cold, washing away Marcus's betrayal, Zara's perfume, the smell of her old life. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel that was softer than clouds, she found clothes laid out on the bed. Leggings and an oversized sweater, comfortable and expensive. She dressed and found Minho in the kitchen, doing something with pots and pans that smelled incredible. "You cook?" She was surprised. "I find it meditative." He glanced at her over his shoulder. "Ramyeon, okay? It's simple but comforting." "It's perfect." They ate at his kitchen island, and Amina realized she was starving. She'd skipped lunch for a meeting, and the groceries she'd bought for dinner were still scattered on her old apartment floor. The ramyeon was spicy and perfect, and Minho watched her eat with something like satisfaction. "Tell me about you," she said between bites. "It's only fair." I'm 32. I run a company, several actually. I'm not married, never have been. I live alone, work too much, and I'm told I'm difficult to get along with. He said it matter-of-factly, like reading a resume. What kind of company? Import-export primarily, some real estate, some investments. The way he said it suggested there was more, things he wasn't saying, but Amina was too tired to push. Thank you, she said softly, for tonight, for helping me. Don't thank me yet. His eyes met hers, dark and intense. I told you, I believe in collecting debts. What debt do I owe you? I haven't decided yet. He stood, started clearing dishes. But when I do, I'll let you know. For now, sleep. Tomorrow we'll figure out your next move. The bedroom was quiet and dark and safe. Amina crawled between sheets that smelled like expensive detergent and lay there, staring at the ceiling, expecting to cry. But the tears wouldn't come. She was cried out, wrung dry, left with nothing but a hollow ache where her heart used to be. She must have slept because she woke to sunlight streaming through windows and the smell of coffee. She emerged from the bedroom to find Min-ho at his dining table, wearing different clothes, a white shirt and black slacks, reading something on his phone. Coffee? He gestured to the pot. There's cream and sugar if you want it. She poured herself a cup and sat across from him. In the daylight, she could see him more clearly. He was beautiful in a way that was almost intimidating, all sharp features and elegant grace. But there was something else, too. Something hard and cold beneath the civilized surface, like a blade wrapped in silk. I need to go back, she said, to get my things. No. Min-ho set down his phone. You don't. Excuse me? Your husband and your sister are still there. Going back puts you in a position to be manipulated, to be convinced to forgive them, to be hurt again. His voice was calm but absolute. Send me a list of what you need. I'll have someone collect it. You can't just decide that. I can, and I am. He leaned forward. Amina, let me be clear. You walked into my life last night, and I made a decision. I'm going to help you, but I'm going to do it my way, and my way means you don't see them again until you're strong enough to face them without breaking. That's not your choice to make. Then make it yourself. Tell me you want to go back there. Look me in the eye and tell me you're ready to see them together, to hear their excuses, to face that apartment. He waited, and when she couldn't speak, he nodded. That's what I thought. I barely know you. Why do you care what happens to me? Min-ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because last night, I saw something in you. Fire, strength, the kind of will that survives betrayal and comes out harder on the other side. I like strength. I admire it. And I want to see what you become when you stop being what they made you and start being what you're meant to be. His words settled over her like a challenge and a promise all at once. What I need, she said carefully, is to call my boss, explain why I missed my shift, figure out my living situation, file for divorce. Already done. Min-ho pulled up something on his phone and showed her. I called the hospital this morning, explained you had a family emergency and would need the week off. They said to take the time you need. As for living arrangements, you'll stay here. I can't impose. You're not imposing. I'm offering. He set the phone down. I have 4 bedrooms in this penthouse. I use one. The rest are empty. Stay as long as you need. And the divorce? I have lawyers on retainer. Give me permission and I'll have the papers filed by end of day. Amina stared at him. You're doing all of this for a stranger? Why? I told you. I saw something in you. Min-ho stood, walked to the windows. And maybe I'm lonely too. Maybe I'm tired of coming home to an empty apartment. Maybe I want to help someone because no one helped me when I needed it. He turned back to her. Or maybe I just think you're interesting, and I want to see what happens next. The next 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. Min-ho left for work early and came home late, but he always made sure there was food in the refrigerator and that Amina had everything she needed. His assistant, a sharp woman named Ji-won, brought clothes in Amina's size, toiletries, even books and magazines. No one asked questions. No one judged. Amina spent the days sleeping, crying, and slowly putting herself back together. Min-ho's lawyers filed divorce papers. The hospital gave her 2 weeks leave. Her phone, which Minho had somehow retrieved from the trash can, was full of messages from Marcus and Zara that she deleted without reading. On the fourth night, Minho came home to find her cooking. She'd made jollof rice, the smell filling his penthouse with spices that didn't belong in a bachelor's kitchen. "What's this?" He looked genuinely surprised. "Dinner. You've been feeding me for 4 days. I wanted to return the favor." She dished up plates, nervous suddenly. "I hope you like spicy food." They ate together, and she watched his face as he took the first bite. His expression shifted, eyes widening slightly, and then he smiled, really smiled. Not the polite curve of lips she'd seen before, but something genuine and warm. "This is incredible. It's my grandmother's recipe. She taught me before she passed." Amina felt her throat tighten. "I haven't made it since I moved to Seoul." Marcus didn't like spicy food. "Marcus is a fool." Minho took another bite. In more ways than one, they ate in comfortable silence, and Amina realized this was the first meal she'd enjoyed in days, maybe weeks. Marcus had always wanted Korean food or bland Western dishes. She'd forgotten what it felt like to cook her own culture's food, to share it with someone who appreciated it. After dinner, they sat on Minho's balcony, overlooking the city. The night was clear, and Seoul sparkled below them like scattered diamonds. "I got served today," Amina said quietly. "Divorce papers." Marcus signed them without contest. No fight, no attempt to save the marriage. He just signed. "How do you feel about that?" "Relieved, and pathetic that I feel relieved." She wrapped her arms around herself. 3 years of my life. 3 years of believing in something that was never real. How did I not see it? Love makes us blind. It's not a weakness. It's just what it does. Minho was quiet for a moment. "My mother stayed with my father for 20 years. He had 3 mistresses, 2 of them with children." She knew. Everyone knew. But she stayed because she loved who she thought he was, not who he actually was. "What happened to them?" "My father died in a car accident when I was 18. My mother passed 2 years later. Doctors said heart failure. I think it was a broken heart." His jaw tightened. "I swore I'd never be like either of them. Never be the cheater and never be the fool who stayed." "Is that why you've never married?" "That's part of it." He looked at her, his gaze direct and unwavering. "I also never met anyone who made me want to try. Until now." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Amina's heart started beating faster. "Minho, I just left my husband. I'm not ready for whatever you're suggesting." "I'm not suggesting anything, just stating a fact." He stood, offered his hand to help her up. "Come on, it's late. You should sleep." But as she passed him, his hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. She stopped, looked back at him, and found his eyes dark with something that made her breath catch. "I'm a patient man, Amina. I can wait." His thumb brushed over her pulse point. "But I want you to know, what I feel when I look at you, it's not pity. It's not charity. It's something else entirely." "What is it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." He released her wrist. "And so are you." The next morning, Amina woke to voices in the living room, male voices, speaking rapid Korean. She emerged from the bedroom to find Minho with 2 other men, all of them in expensive suits, papers spread across his dining table. Minho looked up and his expression softened. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "It's fine. I should be up anyway." She felt suddenly self-conscious in the borrowed pajamas, aware of how intimate this looked. Her sleeping in his apartment, him clearly having spent the night here. One of the men said something in Korean. Minho responded sharply, and the man's face went carefully blank. The other man smirked. "English, please," Minho said. "We have a guest." "My apologies." The smirking man stood and bowed slightly. "I'm Park Jin-woo. This is So Jun-woo. We work with Minho." "Work with" was clearly code for something else, but Amina smiled politely. "Nice to meet you." "You're the nurse," Seo said, his eyes calculating. "The one whose husband was an idiot." "Seo." Minho's voice was sharp. "What?" "It's true. A man would have to be brain dead to cheat on a woman like that." Seo grinned at Amina. "You're much too beautiful to be crying over a fool." Despite everything, Amina felt her lips twitch. "Thank you, I think." "Ignore him." He has no social skills. Jinwoo shot So a look before turning back to Amina. But he's not wrong. Your husband is a fool. Minho stood. Gentlemen, we're done here. Leave. But we haven't finished. Seo started. I said leave. Minho's voice was cold enough to freeze blood. Now, they left, gathering papers quickly, and the silence they left behind was weighted. Minho turned to Amina, his expression unreadable. I apologize for that. They have no filter. It's okay. They seem nice. She moved to the kitchen, started making coffee. What do you really do, Minho? You said import-export. But those men, they seem like more than business associates. They are. He followed her, leaned against the counter. I'm what you might call a fixer. When people have problems they can't solve through legal channels, they come to me. I solve those problems. That sounds dangerous. It can be. But I'm very good at it. He watched her make coffee with an intensity that made her hands shake slightly. Does it frighten you? Should it? Probably. The same answer he'd given her that first night. But you're still here. I'm still here, she agreed, pouring 2 cups. They drank coffee in silence, and Amina felt the weight of what wasn't being said. Minho was dangerous. His world was dangerous. Getting close to him would be dangerous. But she'd been safe her whole life, had played by the rules, had been the good girl, and where had that gotten her? Betrayed and broken. Maybe it was time to be dangerous, too. That afternoon, Ji-won brought more clothes and stayed to help Amina organize the spare bedroom she'd been using. The assistant was efficient and kind, never asking nosy questions, but Amina could see the curiosity in her eyes. Can I ask you something? Amina said as they folded sweaters. Of course. Why is Minho really helping me? He says he saw something in me, but that seems like a thin reason to let a stranger live in his home. Ji-won was quiet for a moment, then said carefully, Mr. Kang is very particular about who he allows into his life. The fact that he brought you here, that he's protecting you, it means something. I've worked for him for 5 years, and I've never seen him bring anyone to this apartment. Not a woman, not a friend, not anyone. What are you saying? I'm saying he sees something in you that he hasn't seen in anyone else, and Mr. Kang always gets what he wants. Always. She smiled slightly. So whatever is happening between you two, it's not temporary. He doesn't do temporary. The words stayed with Amina long after Ji-won left. That night, Minho came home with takeout and found her on the balcony, watching the city. You're thinking too hard, he said, handing her a container of fried chicken. I can see it from here. Your assistant said something interesting today. Ji-won talks too much. She said you always get what you want. Amina turned to face him. Is that true? Yes. No hesitation. Do you want me? The question hung between them, dangerous and electric. Minho set down his food, moved closer, until she could feel his body heat even though he wasn't touching her. Yes, he said quietly. I want you. Have since that first night, when you looked at me with those eyes and I saw everything you were feeling. Pain and strength and fear and courage all at once. I wanted to take that pain away. Wanted to protect you. Wanted to keep you. His hand lifted, brushed a curl back from her face. I still want all of those things. Minho, I'm a mess. I'm broken. I just left my husband. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. His fingers lingered on her cheek. And I'm a patient man. I told you I can wait. For what? For you to want me back? Amina's breath caught. What if I already do? Something flickered in his eyes, dark and possessive. Then we have a problem, because I promised myself I wouldn't touch you until you were ready, until you were sure, until you chose me for the right reasons, not because you're hurt and lonely. What are the right reasons? Because you want me. Because you see who I am, what I am, and you want me anyway. Because you can't imagine going a day without seeing me. His thumb brushed her lower lip. Because you're as obsessed with me as I'm becoming with you. The admission stole her breath. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered it in Korean, his expression going hard. When he hung up, he was all business. I have to go. Emergency at work. He was already grabbing his jacket. Don't wait up. I'll be back late. Be careful, she said, and he paused. You care if I'm careful? Yes, His smile was brief but genuine. Then I will be. He left, and Amina stood on the balcony, her lips tingling from where his thumb had touched them, her heart racing. She was falling for him, despite everything, despite the timing being terrible, despite knowing almost nothing about his real life. She was falling, and she didn't know if that made her brave or stupid. Min-ho didn't come home that night, or the next morning. By noon, Amina was pacing the penthouse, her phone in her hand, debating whether to call. She didn't have his number memorized, had never needed it before because he was always just there, solid and present and safe. Ji-won appeared around 2 in the afternoon, letting herself in with a key Amina hadn't known she had. "He's fine," she said before Amina could ask. There was an incident, nothing he couldn't handle, but it required his presence overnight. "What kind of incident?" "The kind I can't discuss." Ji-won's expression was apologetic but firm. "He wanted me to tell you he'll be home tonight, and to make sure you ate." "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway, he'll check." Ji-won moved to the kitchen, started pulling out ingredients. "I'll make you something quick." While Ji-won cooked, Amina's phone rang. "Unknown number," she answered cautiously. "Amina." Marcus's voice and her stomach dropped. "We need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about. Please, just hear me out. I made a mistake. Zara and it was just physical. It didn't mean anything. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. There is no us anymore. You signed the divorce papers. Because you forced my hand. You left. You filed. You didn't give me a choice." His voice took on a wheedling tone she recognized. "Baby, come on. 3 years. Doesn't that mean something?" "It meant everything. To me. Clearly it meant nothing to you. That's not fair. I love you. You don't get to say that anymore." Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt. "You lost that right when you slept with my sister in our bed. It was one time. It was 7 months. Don't lie to me now, Marcus. At least give me the dignity of honesty." Silence. "Then, where are you staying? We should talk face to face." "No. Amina, I'm your husband. You're my ex-husband. And you don't get to know where I am or what I'm doing. You gave up that right." She hung up, her hands shaking. Ji-won appeared with a bowl of soup, her expression knowing. "The ex? He wants to talk, wants to fix things. Do you want that?" "No." The certainty in her voice surprised her. "I don't. Even if Min-ho wasn't in the picture, even if I had nowhere else to go, I wouldn't go back. I'm done being that woman, the one who accepts less than she deserves." "Good." Ji-won smiled. "You're stronger than you think. Mr. Kang sees that. It's why he's so drawn to you." Amina ate the soup, let Ji-won distract her with stories about working for Min-ho. How demanding he was, how brilliant, how loyal to the people he cared about, how dangerous he could be to his enemies. "He's not a good man," Ji-won said carefully. "Not in the traditional sense, but he's honorable in his own way. He keeps his word. He protects what's his, and he never hurts anyone who doesn't deserve it." "What does he do exactly? When people have problems?" Ji-won was quiet for a long moment. "He fixes things. Sometimes that means negotiating. Sometimes it means applying pressure. Sometimes it means things I don't ask about because I like sleeping at night." She met Amina's eyes. "But he's never cruel without cause, and he's never broken a promise." That night, Min-ho finally came home. It was past midnight, and Amina had dozed off on the couch waiting. She woke to the sound of the door opening, sat up to find him standing in the entryway. He looked exhausted. His suit was rumpled, his tie gone, blood on his white shirt collar. Not much, just a few drops, but enough to make her heart stop. "You're hurt." She was across the room before conscious thought, her hands on his chest, checking for injuries. "It's not mine." His hands covered hers, stilling them. "I'm fine. Just tired. You've been gone for 36 hours. You counted. I was worried." She looked up at him, at the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw. "What happened?" "Nothing I want to talk about tonight." He brushed a curl back from her face, the gesture now familiar, intimate. "You waited up. I couldn't sleep not knowing if you were okay." Something shifted in his expression, something vulnerable beneath the exhaustion. "No one's worried about me in a long time." "Well, I am, so stop looking surprised about it." She tugged his hand. Come on. You need to shower and sleep. I need to debrief my team, check in with Minho. Shower. Sleep. Everything else can wait 4 hours. He studied her face, then smiled slightly. You're bossy when you're worried. I'm a nurse. Bossiness comes with the territory. She pushed him toward his bedroom. Go. I'll make you something to eat. I'm not hungry. You're eating anyway. This time his smile was genuine. Yes, ma'am. While he showered, Amina made ramyeon, the same simple meal he'd made her that first night. She heard the water stop, heard him moving around, and tried not to think about the fact that he was naked on the other side of that wall. Tried not to remember the feeling of his thumb on her lip, the heat in his eyes when he'd said he wanted her. He emerged in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair damp, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. They ate together in silence, and she watched him relax incrementally with each bite. Marcus called, she said finally. Minho's hand stilled halfway to his mouth. What did he want? To talk, to fix things? He said it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. She met his eyes. I told him no. Told him he didn't get to know where I was or what I was doing. Good. Minho set down his chopsticks. Do you want me to make sure he doesn't call again? What does that mean exactly? It means I can have a conversation with him. Make it clear that contacting you is unacceptable. I can be very persuasive when necessary. Will you hurt him? Only if he forces me to. His expression was calm, matter of fact. I don't enjoy violence, Amina, but I'm capable of it when protecting what's mine. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He leaned forward. You're living in my home, wearing clothes I bought, eating food I provide, sleeping under my protection. You worried about me for 36 hours, made me dinner, ordered me to rest. His eyes held hers. If you're not mine, whose are you? My own. Good answer. He smiled. But you can be your own and mine at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. You're very sure of yourself. I'm sure of what I feel. I'm sure of what I see in your eyes when you look at me. He reached across the table, took her hand. I told you I'm patient, but patience doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. I see every glance, every blush, every time your breath catches when I'm close. You feel this too. This thing between us. Amina couldn't deny it. Yes, but that doesn't mean it's smart. Doesn't mean it's right. I just left my husband 3 weeks ago, and he was already gone long before that, sleeping with your sister. Minho's thumb stroked over her knuckles. At some point, you have to stop punishing yourself for his sins. Stop denying yourself happiness because the timing isn't perfect. I don't want to be a rebound. Don't want to jump from one man to another because I'm lonely or hurt. You think that's what this is? He stood, pulled her up with him, close enough that she could feel his body heat. Amina, I don't do rebounds. I don't do casual. When I commit to something, to someone, it's absolute. So if you're going to be with me, know that. Know that I'll be possessive and demanding and probably suffocating at times. Know that I'll want all of you, not just the easy parts. Know that I don't share, don't compromise on loyalty, and I never give up what's mine. Her heart was racing. That sounds like a warning. It is, because once you're mine, you're mine. There's no halfway with me. His hand cupped her face. So I need you to be sure, need you to want this for the right reasons. What if I'm not sure? What if I need time? Then I'll wait. He pressed his forehead to hers, his breath warm on her lips. But don't make me wait too long. I'm patient, but I'm not a saint. They stood like that, breathing the same air, not quite kissing, but close enough that it felt like a promise. Finally, Minho pulled back. I need to sleep. 4 hours like you ordered. He squeezed her hand. Thank you, for waiting up, for caring. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do, because no one else would have. He walked to his bedroom door, paused. Amina, lock your door tonight. Not because I don't trust myself, but because I want you too much to risk making a mistake. He closed the door before she could respond. Amina stood in his living room, her hand tingling where he'd held it, her whole body humming with want. She went to bed, but she didn't lock her door, and she lay awake for hours, wondering if he noticed. The next morning, Amina woke to her phone ringing. Zara's name flashed on the screen. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "What do you want?" "To apologize." Zara's voice was small, nothing like the confident woman who'd been in Amina's bed. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say I'm sorry." "You're right. I don't want to hear from you. Please, just let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen. Marcus and I, there was chemistry and we couldn't help it and—" "Stop." Amina's voice was cold. "You could help it. Every single time you chose to sleep with my husband, you could have chosen not to. Every time you looked me in the eye and lied, you could have told the truth. So don't tell me you couldn't help it. You chose this." "I love him, Amina. I know that sounds awful, but I do. I love him, and he loves me." The words should have hurt. Instead, Amina felt nothing but a distant sort of pity. "Then you can have him, but you can't have me. You're my sister, my twin, and you betrayed me in the worst possible way. I'll never forgive that. We're family. You have to forgive me eventually." "No, I don't. Family doesn't mean you get to hurt me without consequences." Amina's voice broke slightly. "We shared a womb, Zara. We were supposed to protect each other. You were supposed to be the one person in the world I could trust completely, and you destroyed that." "I'm sorry." Zara was crying now. "I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Nothing fixes this." Amina hung up. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face, when strong arms wrapped around her from behind. Min-ho, still warm from sleep, pulled her back against his chest. "I heard your voice," he murmured into her hair. "Heard you crying. My sister called. She wanted to apologize. And I told her I'd never forgive her." Amina turned in his arms, buried her face against his shoulder. "She was my twin. We were supposed to be connected. How could she do that to me? Because people are selfish. Because they want what they want and they don't care who they hurt to get it." His hand stroked her back, soothing. "But that's on her, not you. Her choices, her sins, not yours. I feel so stupid. For not seeing it. For trusting them. Trust isn't stupid. It's brave. And the fact that they broke that trust says everything about them and nothing about you." He pulled back to look at her face, wiped her tears with his thumbs. "You're strong, Amina, stronger than you know. And you're going to get through this." "How do you know?" "Because you already are. Because you're standing in my kitchen crying over people who don't deserve your tears, but you're still standing. That's strength." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Now, breakfast. Then we're going out." "Out where?" "It's a surprise." An hour later, they were in Minho's car, driving through Seoul. He wouldn't tell her where they were going, just smiled mysteriously and held her hand across the console. They ended up at a gallery, modern and bright, filled with art from African artists. "I thought you might like this," Minho said as they walked through, his hand on her lower back. "Jiwon mentioned you missed home sometimes, missed your culture." Amina stopped in front of a painting, vibrant colors depicting a Nigerian market scene. It was so familiar it hurt. Women in bright fabrics, children playing, the chaos and beauty of home. Tears burned her eyes again, but this time they were different. Grateful tears. "This is incredible," she whispered. "There's more." Minho led her to another room where sculptures and textiles were displayed. They spent 2 hours there, Minho listening as Amina explained the significance of different pieces, the cultural context, the memories they triggered. He asked questions, genuinely interested, and she fell a little more in love with him with each one. After the gallery, they had lunch at a Nigerian restaurant Amina hadn't known existed in Seoul. The owner, a woman named Chinwe, greeted them warmly and served them food that tasted like home. Jollof rice, pounded yam, egusi soup, all perfect, all exactly what Amina's soul needed. "How did you find this place?" she asked Minho between bites. "I called every African restaurant in Seoul until I found one that served Nigerian food. Then I called ahead and ordered everything they had." He watched her eat with that same satisfied expression from before. "You needed this. Needed to remember who you are beyond what Marcus tried to make you. He didn't try to make me anything. He tried to make you small. Tried to fit you into his world without making space for yours. He wanted you to cook his food, speak his language, be convenient." Minho leaned forward. "I don't want convenient. I want you. All of you. Your culture, your language, your food, your history. I want to learn it all. Why? Because it's part of you, and I want every part of you I can get. After lunch, they walked through a nearby park. It was a beautiful day, warm and clear, and Seoul felt less foreign than it had in years. Minho bought her ice cream, and they sat on a bench watching people pass. "Thank you for today," Amina said softly. "I needed this more than I knew." "I know. That's why I planned it." He turned to her, his expression serious. "I want you to be happy, Amina. Want you to feel at home here, with me. Whatever you need, whatever makes you feel whole, I'll provide it. You can't buy happiness." "No, but I can create space for it, can remove obstacles, can make sure you have everything you need to find it yourself." His hand found hers. "And maybe I can be part of that happiness, if you'll let me." Before she could respond, a woman's voice called out in Korean. They both turned to see an elegant older woman approaching, her expression curious and calculating. She was beautiful despite her age, with the kind of grace that came from wealth and confidence. Minho's entire demeanor changed. He stood, putting himself slightly in front of Amina, his body language protective and cold. "Mother," he said in English, his voice flat, "what are you doing here? I might ask you the same question." The woman's eyes moved to Amina, cataloging her in an instant. "And who is this? A friend? A friend you're holding hands with in public? How interesting." She switched to English, accented but perfect. "I'm Kang Sun-hee, Minho's mother, and you are Amina Okonkwo." Amina stood, extended her hand. The woman shook it briefly, her grip cool and assessing. "Nigerian, from your accent, and a nurse, from the way you examined my son when you saw blood on his collar. You're also recently divorced, living in my son's apartment, and the reason he's been distracted the past few weeks." Sun-hee smiled, but it was sharp. "I have excellent sources." "Mother, that's enough." Minho's voice was cold. "Is it? You've never brought a woman around, never shown interest in anyone, and suddenly you're playing house with a foreign nurse who just left her husband. Forgive me for being curious. Amina is my guest. She's under my protection. That should be enough for you. Under your protection or in your bed, because from where I'm standing, it looks like the latter." Amina felt her face heat, but she kept her voice steady. "With respect, Mrs. Kang, where I sleep is none of your business." Sun-hee's eyebrows rose. "Oh, she has spine. How refreshing." She turned back to Minho. "We need to talk about the business with the Nakamura situation. Privately. Later. Now. Unless you want me to discuss it in front of your friend here." Minho's jaw tightened. He turned to Amina. "Wait here. I'll be 5 minutes." "I'll be fine. Take your time." He hesitated, then followed his mother to a bench across the park. Amina watched them talk, saw the tension in Minho's shoulders, the sharp gestures of his mother. Whatever they were discussing, it wasn't pleasant. They were gone longer than 5 minutes, more like 20. When Minho finally returned, his expression was thunderous. "I'm sorry about that. My mother has no boundaries. She's protective of you. She's controlling. There's a difference." He took Amina's hand, pulled her toward the car. "Come on, let's go home." In the car, Minho was silent, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the steering wheel like it was a lifeline. Amina reached over, placed her hand on his thigh. He glanced at her, surprised, then covered her hand with his own. "What did she want?" Amina asked softly. "To remind me of my obligations, to tell me I'm being reckless, to suggest that getting involved with you is a distraction I can't afford." His voice was bitter. "She means well, in her way, but she doesn't understand." "Understand what?" "That for the first time in my life, I'm choosing something for myself. Not for the business, not for the family legacy. For me." He brought her hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "You're the first choice I've made that's purely selfish. I don't want to cause problems between you and your mother." "You're not. She's just not used to me telling her no." He glanced at her. "But she'll learn. Because I'm not giving you up. Not for her, not for anyone." That night, Minho had to work late. He left Amina alone in the penthouse with strict instructions to lock the door and not answer it for anyone. She spent the evening reading, trying not to think about his mother's words or the way Minho had defended her so fiercely. Around midnight, she heard the door open. But it wasn't Minho's familiar footsteps. These were different, lighter, accompanied by female laughter. Amina emerged from the bedroom to find Zara standing in the living room, looking around with wide eyes. Behind her was Marcus, looking uncomfortable. "How did you get in here?" Amina demanded. "The doorman let us up, said we were family." Zara turned to her, and Amina was struck again by how identical they looked. Same face, same body, same everything. But where Amina felt broken, Zara looked triumphant. "Nice place. Your new sugar daddy treating you well? Get out. We just want to talk." Marcus stepped forward, his expression pleading. "Baby, please. We need to work this out." "There's nothing to work out. We're divorced. You made your choice." "She seduced me," Marcus said, pointing at Zara. "It was her fault. She came on to me, wore me down. I was weak, and don't you dare." Zara's voice was sharp. "You wanted this as much as I did. You said you loved me. You said you were going to leave her. I said a lot of things. Doesn't mean I meant them." Marcus looked at Amina desperately. "She's lying, baby. I never loved her. It was always you." Watching them turn on each other would have been satisfying if Amina felt anything at all. But she was just tired. Tired of their drama, their lies, their attempts to manipulate her. "You're perfect for each other," she said flatly. "Both of you lie, both of you cheat, both of you only care about yourselves. I hope you're very happy together." "Amina, please." Marcus reached for her. The door opened. Minho walked in, took one look at the scene, and his entire demeanor changed. The civilized businessman vanished, replaced by something dangerous and cold. "Who let you in?" His voice was deadly quiet. "The doorman. We're family." Zara lifted her chin defiantly. "You were family. Now you're trespassers." Minho pulled out his phone, made a call in rapid Korean. Then he looked at Marcus. "You have 30 seconds to leave before security arrives. And trust me, you don't want security to arrive." "You're the sugar daddy?" Marcus laughed, but it sounded nervous. "Man, she moves fast. 1 week and she's already living with some rich Korean." Minho moved so fast Amina didn't see it. One moment he was across the room, the next he had Marcus against the wall, forearm across his throat. "You don't get to talk about her. You don't get to look at her. You don't even get to think her name." His voice was soft, terrifying. "You gave up every right to her when you climbed into bed with her sister. And if I ever see you near her again, I'll make sure you regret it. Do you understand me?" Marcus nodded frantically, his face red. Minho released him, shoved him toward the door. "Get out, both of you. If you come back, I won't be nice." They left, Zara throwing Amina one last venomous look. When the door closed, silence fell like a hammer. Minho turned to Amina, his expression softening. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." She smiled slightly. That felt good. Watching them scramble, watching them turn on each other. "They're pathetic." Minho crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. "And they're gone now. I'll make sure they never bother you again. Your mother was right. I'm a distraction, a complication. You're neither. You're a choice. My choice." He tilted her face up. "And I choose you. Every single time." Amina looked at him, at this dangerous man who'd shown her more kindness than anyone in her life, and made a decision. "I want you," she whispered. "I don't care about timing or what's smart or anything else. I just want you." Minho's eyes darkened. "Amina, you need to be sure." "I am sure. I've been sure since the night you made me ramyeon and told me I was worth saving." She reached up, touched his face. "Make me forget them. Make me forget everything except this moment." He hesitated for half a second. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming, possessive, everything he'd promised he would be. His hands tangled in her hair, his body pressed against hers, and Amina felt something inside her shatter and reform into something new. She kissed him back with equal intensity, pouring 3 weeks of longing into it, letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back. Minho lifted her effortlessly, her legs wrapping around his waist as he carried her to his bedroom. The door closed behind them, and the world disappeared, leaving only heat and want, and the desperate need to be close to someone who saw her, really saw her, and wanted her anyway. Later, much later, Amina lay in Minho's bed, wrapped in his sheets that smelled like him, feeling his heartbeat steady against her back. His arm was heavy around her waist, possessive even in sleep. She should have felt guilty, should have worried about moving too fast. But all she felt was safe and wanted and alive in a way she hadn't been in years. Minho stirred, pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "You okay?" "Perfect. Good." He pulled her closer. "Because you're not leaving this bed for at least 12 hours. I'm not done with you yet." Amina smiled in the darkness. For the first time since that terrible night 3 weeks ago, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she was going to be okay. More than okay. She was going to be happy. Amina woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the warm weight of Minho's arm draped across her waist. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed back. The night before, Minho's hands on her skin, his mouth claiming hers, the way he'd made her forget her own name. She should have felt awkward, should have been planning her escape from his bed, but instead, she felt anchored, safe, like she'd finally found a place she belonged. "You're thinking too loud," Minho murmured against her neck, his voice rough with sleep. "I can hear it from here. I was just wondering if last night was real or if I imagined it." "It was real." He tightened his arm around her, pulled her closer until there was no space between them. "And we're going to do it again, multiple times, starting now. Minho, we should talk about what this means. It means you're mine now. Officially, completely mine." He rolled her onto her back, propped himself up on one elbow to look at her. His dark hair was disheveled, his eyes soft in the morning light, and he'd never looked more beautiful. "That's what it means. That's very possessive. I warned you. I told you I don't do halfway." His hand cupped her face with devastating gentleness. "You're mine, Amina, and I'm yours. That's the deal. I didn't agree to any deal. You did. Last night, when you asked me to make you forget, when you let me touch you, when you said my name like a prayer." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "You agreed to all of it. Now you're stuck with me." Despite herself, Amina smiled. "You're very sure of yourself. I'm sure of us." He kissed her, slow and deep, and she felt herself melting into him. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "Now, shower, then breakfast. I'm taking the day off." "You're taking a day off? You?" "For you. Yes." He climbed out of bed, completely unself-conscious in his nakedness, and held out his hand. "Come on, we're showering together. I'm not letting you out of my sight today." The shower was an exercise in restraint that neither of them had. By the time they emerged, the water had run cold, and Amina's legs were shaking. Minho wrapped her in a towel that was bigger than she was, dried her with careful attention, then carried her back to bed. "I thought we were having breakfast," she protested weakly. "We will, eventually." He kissed her neck, her collarbone, lower. "Right now I'm busy." They never made it to breakfast. It was past noon when they finally emerged from his bedroom, both starving and completely disheveled. Minho made them lunch while Amina sat at his kitchen island, wearing one of his shirts and nothing else, watching him move around his kitchen with easy grace. "This is dangerous," she said softly. "What is? This. Us. How easy it is. How right it feels." She pulled his shirt closer around herself. "I'm scared I'm going to wake up and it'll all be gone." Minho set down the knife he'd been using, came around the island to stand between her knees. His hands settled on her thighs, warm and possessive. "I'm not going anywhere. Neither are you. This isn't temporary, Amina. I told you, when I commit, it's absolute." He pressed his forehead to hers. "You're scared because the last person you trusted destroyed you. But I'm not him. I won't lie to you, won't cheat on you, won't make you doubt yourself. I'll just love you until you believe that you deserve it." The word love hung between them, enormous and terrifying and perfect. "You love me?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, have for weeks. Maybe since that first night, when you looked at me with those eyes and I saw everything you were." He pulled back to look at her. "I know it's fast. I know it's probably too much. But I don't believe in lying about what I feel. So, yes, I love you." Tears burned her eyes. "Minho, I don't know if I'm ready to say that back. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you the truth." He kissed her softly. You can say it when you're ready. I'll wait. What if I'm never ready? Then I'll love you enough for both of us. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his face. Now eat. You're going to need your strength. For what? For later. When I take you back to bed and make you scream my name loud enough that my neighbors complain. Minho! She felt her face heat. What? I'm being honest. He grinned, wicked and satisfied. I told you. I'm possessive. And I plan to make sure you never forget who you belong to. They ate lunch together, and Amina felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe, or just the absence of constant anxiety. For 3 years with Marcus, she'd always been waiting for the other shoe to drop, for him to criticize her cooking or her clothes or the way she laughed too loud. With Minho, she could just be. No performance, no pretense, just herself. After lunch, Minho's phone started ringing. He ignored it the first 3 times, but on the 4th, he sighed and answered, speaking rapid Korean. His expression hardened, and Amina watched the businessman slide back into place, replacing the soft man who'd made her breakfast. When he hung up, he looked apologetic. I have to go in. Emergency meeting. Something with the Nakamura situation my mother mentioned. It's fine. You've already taken half the day off for me. I'll be back as soon as I can. A few hours at most. He pulled her close, kissed her thoroughly. Stay here. Don't leave the building. And Amina, if anyone tries to contact you, anyone at all, tell me immediately. You're scaring me. I'm being careful. There's a difference. He grabbed his jacket, checked his phone. I'll have G1 come stay with you while I'm gone. I don't need a babysitter. Humor me. Please. The please did it. Amina nodded, and some of the tension left his shoulders. Thank you. I'll be back before dinner. We'll order in. Open that bottle of wine I've been saving. Okay. He kissed her one more time, hard and claiming, then left. The penthouse felt enormous without him, empty in a way it hadn't before. Amina showered again, properly this time, and was getting dressed when G1 arrived. Emergency babysitting duty, G1 said with a smile, letting herself in. Though between you and me, I think he just wanted an excuse to make sure you're taken care of. He's very protective. He's in love. There's a difference. Ji-won settled onto the couch, pulled out her laptop. So, want to tell me how last night went? Ji-won. What? I'm curious. Mr. Kang has been different since you arrived. Lighter, happier. I want to know what happened to cause such a dramatic shift. Amina felt her face heat. We're together now. Officially. About time. The tension between you two has been killing me. Ji-won grinned. He's good for you. You're good for him. It works. They spent the afternoon together, Ji-won working while Amina read, occasionally talking about nothing important. It was comfortable, easy, and Amina realized she'd made a friend. She'd been so isolated in her marriage to Marcus, working all the time, no social life outside of him. This felt good. Around 4, Ji-won's phone rang. She answered, her expression changing from pleasant to concerned. She spoke quickly in Korean, then hung up. That was Mr. Kang. The meeting's running long. He won't be back until 8 or 9. He wanted me to stay with you. Make sure you eat dinner. I can feed myself. I know. But again, humor him. He's very worried about you being alone. Ji-won stood. Come on, let's order something good. My treat. They ordered Thai food and were halfway through dinner when someone knocked on the door. Ji-won frowned, checked her phone. That's weird. No one should be able to get up here without calling first. The knock came again, more insistent. Ji-won moved to the door, looked through the peephole, and her entire body went rigid. What is it? Amina asked. Stay back. Ji-won's voice was sharp, professional. She pulled out her phone, started to dial. The door exploded inward. 3 men rushed in, moving with military precision. Ji-won tried to fight, actually landing a solid hit on one of them, but they were bigger, stronger, and clearly trained. One of them hit her with something, a taser maybe, and she went down. Amina screamed, ran for the bedroom, but hands caught her from behind. A cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, chemical sweet and suffocating. She fought, clawed, tried to remember the self-defense moves her father had taught her, but the world was already going gray at the edges. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was a man speaking in accented English. The boss wants her alive. Carefully, then nothing. Amina woke to darkness and pain, her head pounding, her mouth dry. She tried to move and realized her hands were bound behind her back, her ankles tied to a chair. Panic clawed at her throat. She was in a room, small and windowless, lit only by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. She's awake. A voice, male, speaking Korean. Footsteps approaching. A man stepped into the light. He was older, maybe 50, with gray at his temples and eyes like chips of ice. He wore an expensive suit and smiled at her like they were old friends meeting for coffee. "Miss Okonkwo, I apologize for the dramatic introduction. I'm Nakamura Kenji." He pulled up a chair, sat facing her. "I believe you're acquainted with Kang Min-ho." Amina's heart was racing, but she kept her voice steady. "What do you want?" "Straight to business." "I like that." Nakamura leaned forward. "I want leverage. You see, Min-ho has something I need, and he's been stubbornly refusing to cooperate. But I think you might change his mind. He won't negotiate for me. We barely know each other. Please don't insult my intelligence. I have photographs of you leaving his bedroom this morning wearing nothing but his shirt. I have reports of him canceling all his meetings to spend the day with you. I know he's in love with you." Nakamura's smile widened. "And a man in love will do anything to keep his beloved safe. If you hurt me, he'll kill you. Oh, I'm counting on him trying. But first, he'll give me what I want. Then we'll see who kills whom." He stood, gestured to someone Amina couldn't see. "Make her comfortable. We want her looking good when Min-ho comes calling." They untied her from the chair but kept her hands bound, moved her to a room with a bed and a bathroom. It was nicer than she expected, almost like a hotel room, but the door locked from the outside and there were no windows. Amina sat on the bed, trying to think. Min-ho would come for her. She knew that with absolute certainty. The question was what would happen when he did. Hours passed. They brought her food, water, fresh clothes, treated her carefully, like she was fragile cargo instead of a kidnapped woman. It was almost worse than violence, this clinical politeness. Finally, the door opened. Nakamura entered, holding a phone. "Time to make a call. Tell your lover where you are. Tell him you're fine. Tell him to cooperate. If you say anything else, if you try to warn him, I'll hurt you. Not kill you, just hurt you enough that he can hear you scream. Understand?" Amina nodded. He dialed, put the phone on speaker. Min-ho answered on the first ring. "Where is she?" His voice was absolutely calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Min-ho." Amina's voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. "Amina, are you hurt?" Still that terrible calm. "I'm fine. They haven't hurt me." She met Nakamura's eyes. "Yet, that's my girl." A hint of warmth in his voice. "Stay strong. I'm coming for you." "Min-ho, don't..." Nakamura ended the call. Very touching. He pocketed the phone. "Now we wait. He'll be here within the hour with exactly what I want, or you'll discover just how creative I can be with pain." Amina didn't doubt him. She sat on the bed, hands still bound, and tried not to think about what was coming. Tried not to imagine Min-ho walking into a trap, getting hurt because of her, dying because she'd been careless. She should have listened, should have stayed in the penthouse, should have been more careful, should have realized that loving someone like Min-ho came with consequences. Exactly 53 minutes later, the building shook. An explosion, distant but powerful enough to rattle the walls. Shouting erupted outside her door, men running, guns being cocked, then silence. The door to her room opened slowly. Min-ho stood there, his suit torn, blood on his face, a gun in his hand. His eyes found hers across the room, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "Close your eyes," he said quietly. "Min-ho, close your eyes," not a request. She closed them, heard him move through the room, heard him cutting her bonds with something sharp. Then, his hands were on her face, checking for injuries, and she opened her eyes to find him right there, close enough to touch. "Are you hurt?" His voice was gentle despite the violence clearly happening around them. "No, they didn't hurt me." "Good." He pulled her to her feet, tucked her behind him. Stay close. Don't look at anything. Just follow me. They moved through the building, and Amina tried to follow his instructions, tried not to look, but she caught glimpses. Bodies on the floor, blood on walls, men in Minho's organization clearing rooms with brutal efficiency. This wasn't a rescue, it was a massacre. Outside, cars were waiting. Minho put her in the back of one, got in beside her, barked orders in Korean. They peeled out as more explosions rocked the building behind them. Is Ji-won okay? Amina asked, her voice shaking. She's fine, conscious and angry about getting tasered, but fine. Minho pulled her onto his lap, held her so tight she could barely breathe. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I should have protected you better. It's not your fault. It is. Nakamura took you to get to me. He hurt you because of me. His voice was raw with something she'd never heard before. Fear, maybe, or just the aftermath of it. When I got that call, when I heard your voice, He stopped, just held her tighter. I'm okay. I'm here. We're both okay. You shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be in my world. It's too dangerous. But even as he said it, his arms tightened, contradicting his words. Too late. I'm already here. Amina. No. Don't you dare try to push me away because you're scared. Don't you dare use this as an excuse to protect me by leaving me. She pulled back to look at him, at his bloody, beautiful face. I'm not going anywhere. Do you understand? I'm staying, with you, no matter what comes. Something in his expression broke. He kissed her, desperate and claiming, tasting like fear and relief and love. When they finally broke apart, they were both shaking. I love you, Amina whispered. I should have said it this morning, should have said it the moment I realized it. I love you, Minho. Completely, terrifyingly, I love you. His eyes closed, his forehead pressed to hers. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you. She cupped his face. And I'm not going anywhere. Ever. They went back to the penthouse, but Minho didn't let her out of his sight. He showered with her, washed the day away with gentle hands, then carried her to bed and held her like she might disappear if he loosened his grip. I thought I lost you, he said into the darkness. For 3 hours I thought you were gone, that he'd hurt you or killed you or... His voice broke, but he didn't. I'm here. I'm safe. Because I burned down half of Seoul to get to you. Because I called in every favor, used every connection, threatened people I've worked with for years. Because I would have destroyed everything to get you back. He pulled her closer. That's what you mean to me. Everything else, the business, the reputation, the power, none of it matters if you're not here. Minho, I'm not done. He rolled her onto her back, propped himself up to look at her. I want you to marry me. Not someday, not when things calm down. Now, tomorrow, as soon as possible. I want you legally mine, want the world to know you belong to me. Want to make sure that if anything happens, you're protected by more than just my reputation. That's very romantic, Amina said, half laughing, half crying. I'm serious. Marry me, Amina. Be my wife. Let me protect you properly. You're proposing because you're scared. I'm proposing because I love you and I almost lost you, and I don't want to waste another second pretending we have all the time in the world. Life is short and dangerous and unpredictable, but I know what I want. I want you. Forever. Starting now. Amina looked at him, at this dangerous man who'd destroyed a building to save her, who was looking at her like she was his entire world, and felt something settle in her chest. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. His kiss was claiming and tender all at once. They made love slowly, carefully, Minho worshipping every inch of her skin like he was memorizing her, like he needed to prove to himself she was really there. Afterward, as they lay tangled together, Minho's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression hardening. What is it? Nakamura. He's alive. Barely, but alive. Minho set the phone down. My people have him. I need to go deal with this. Deal with it how? The way I deal with people who threaten what's mine. He kissed her forehead. Stay here. Sleep. I'll be back in a few hours. Minho, don't do anything you'll regret. I won't regret this. He stood, started dressing. He took you, hurt Ji-won, threatened everything I've built. There's only one way this ends. Amina knew what he meant, knew what he was going to do. She should have tried to stop him, should have argued for mercy or justice through proper channels. But she thought about those 3 hours of captivity, the fear, the way Nakamura had smiled while threatening to hurt her, and she couldn't find it in herself to care what happened to him. "Be careful," was all she said. "Always." He kissed her one more time. "I love you. I love you too." He left, and Amina lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything that had happened. 24 hours ago, she'd been unsure about their relationship, worried about moving too fast. Now she was engaged to a man who'd burned down half a criminal empire to save her, who'd just gone to kill someone to protect her. She should have been horrified, should have been questioning her choices. Instead, she just felt safe, cherished, loved in a way that was probably unhealthy but felt more real than anything she'd ever experienced. Minho returned 3 hours later. He showered, the water running for a long time, and when he finally came to bed, he smelled clean and looked exhausted. He pulled her close without a word, and she didn't ask what had happened, didn't need to. It was done. The next morning, Ji-won appeared with a tablet and a smile. "Wedding planning time," she announced, settling onto the couch. "Mr. Kang wants this done within the week, so we need to move fast." "Within the week?" Amina looked at Minho, who was making coffee. "I told you. I'm not waiting." He brought her a cup, kissed her temple. "Pick whatever you want. Dress, flowers, venue, guest list. Whatever makes you happy. Money is no object." "Minho, we should at least—" "No, we shouldn't. We should get married, bind ourselves together legally and spiritually, and move forward with our lives. Everything else is just details." He was impossible and high-handed and completely sincere. Amina should have argued. Instead, she found herself looking through wedding dresses with Ji-won, discussing flowers and venues, planning a wedding that would happen in 5 days. "This is insane," she said for the 100th time. "This is love," Ji-won corrected. "This is a man who knows what he wants and refuses to waste time getting it. Most women would kill for this kind of devotion. Most women's boyfriends don't solve problems by blowing up buildings." True, but most women's boyfriends also don't love with the intensity Mr. Kang does. You want safe and boring, you marry Marcus. You want passionate and dangerous, you marry Minho. Ji-won smiled. "I know which one I'd choose." Amina did too. They settled on a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Minho's mother would be there, though he warned Amina she wouldn't be happy about the rushed timeline or his choice of bride. His business associates, people Amina had met briefly, Ji-won and So and Jin-woo, who'd become something like friends, and a few people from the hospital where Amina worked, colleagues who'd been kind to her. The dress was simple, elegant, white silk that made her dark skin glow. Minho insisted on paying for everything, and when Amina tried to contribute, he'd looked at her like she'd suggested something insane. "You're my wife, my responsibility, my joy. Let me give you this. Let me give you everything." How did you argue with that? The day before the wedding, Amina's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello?" Amina. Her mother's voice, and Amina's knees went weak. She hadn't talked to her mother in 6 months, not since the woman had sided with Marcus during one of their arguments, suggesting Amina was being too sensitive. "Mom, I heard you're getting married. To some Korean businessman." Her mother's voice was tight with disapproval. "Not even a year after Marcus." "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking I found someone who loves me, who respects me, who would die for me." "You barely know him." "I know enough. I know he's good and kind and would never hurt me the way Marcus did." Amina's voice was steady. "I'm marrying him tomorrow, with or without your blessing." Silence. Then, "You sound different, stronger." "I am stronger. Minho makes me stronger." Her mother sighed. "Then I suppose I should be happy for you, even if I think you're moving too fast." "You don't have to be happy. You don't even have to approve, but I'd like you there tomorrow. If you're willing." Another pause. "Send me the details. I'll be there." Amina hung up, surprised to find tears on her cheeks. Minho appeared, wiped them away with his thumbs. "Your mother? She's coming tomorrow. She doesn't approve, but she's coming." "Good. You deserve to have family there, even if that family includes people who don't understand how incredible you are." He kissed her softly. "But I understand, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." The wedding was beautiful. The venue was a private garden in one of Seoul's most exclusive neighborhoods, transformed with flowers and lights into something magical. Amina walked down the aisle on her own, no father to give her away, no twin sister to stand beside her. Just her, choosing her own future. Minho stood at the altar in a tuxedo that probably cost more than a car, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. When she reached him, he took her hands, and she felt the tremor in his fingers. He was nervous. This powerful, dangerous man was nervous. The ceremony was short, traditional Korean elements mixed with Western. They exchanged vows, his voice steady and sure as he promised to love her, protect her, cherish her for the rest of their lives. When it was her turn, Amina looked into his eyes and spoke from the heart. "3 weeks ago, I was broken, shattered into pieces I didn't think I could put back together. You found me in the rain, bleeding and lost, and you decided I was worth saving. Not because you pitied me, but because you saw something in me I'd forgotten I had. Strength, fire, worth. You gave me a home when I had nowhere to go. You gave me safety when I felt hunted. You gave me love when I thought I'd never deserve it again. And now I'm giving you everything I am and everything I'll become. I love you, Minho. Completely. Forever. No matter what comes." His eyes were wet when she finished. The officiant pronounced them married, and Minho kissed her like he was claiming her soul. The small crowd applauded, and Amina felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe, or just the certainty that she'd made the right choice. The reception was intimate, good food and better wine and dancing under string lights. Minho's mother approached Amina while he was talking with Jinwoo and Seo. "You surprised me," Sunny said. "I thought you'd run, thought the kidnapping would scare you away." "Why would I run from the person who saved me? Because he's dangerous, because his world is violent, because loving him means living with constant fear." Sun Hee's expression was complicated. "But you're not afraid, are you?" "I'm terrified, every day, but I love him more than I fear what might happen." Amina met the older woman's eyes. "He makes me brave." Something in Sun Hee's expression softened. "Then perhaps you're exactly what he needs. Someone who sees the danger and stays anyway. Someone who loves him for who he is, not what he can provide." She touched Amina's arm briefly. "Welcome to the family, daughter. I hope you survive it." It was the closest thing to approval Amina was going to get, and she'd take it. Later, Minho found her on the terrace, looking out at Seoul's lights. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Happy?" Deliriously. She leaned back against him. "Though it still doesn't feel real. 4 weeks ago I was married to Marcus. Now I'm Mrs. Kang." "Mrs. Kang," he repeated, like he was tasting the words. "I like the sound of that." "So do I." They stood there, wrapped in each other, and Amina felt the last piece of her broken heart slot into place. She was whole again, not because Minho had fixed her, but because he'd given her space to fix herself, had believed in her strength when she'd forgotten she had any. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me that night, for stopping, for deciding I was worth saving." Minho turned her in his arms, cupped her face. "You saved me too, you know. I was empty before you, going through motions, building an empire for no reason except that's what I knew how to do. You gave me purpose, gave me something worth protecting beyond money and power. You gave me a reason to be better. I love you. I love you too." He kissed her softly. "Now come on. Our guests are waiting, and I want to dance with my wife." They danced until midnight, Minho holding her close, moving with the grace of someone who'd had formal training. Amina felt safe in his arms, cherished, loved in a way she'd never experienced before. As the last guests left, Jiwon pulled her aside. "You did it. You survived the whirlwind and came out married to one of Seoul's most powerful men. How does it feel? Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "Good." Jiwon hugged her quickly. "Because Minho needs you, more than he'll probably ever admit. You make him human again." That night, in the penthouse that was now officially their home, Minho carried Amina over the threshold like something out of a fairy tale. He set her down gently, then just held her, his face buried in her neck. "Mine," he murmured. "Finally, officially, completely mine." "Yours," she agreed. "Always." They made love slowly, carefully, a celebration and a claiming all at once. Afterward, Amina lay in Minho's arms, listening to his heartbeat, and felt more at peace than she had in years. "I want to give you something," Minho said quietly. He reached for the bedside table, pulled out a small box. "I was going to wait, but I can't." Inside was a key on a platinum chain. "What's this?" "The deed to a building in Gangnam. I bought it yesterday. I want you to open a clinic there, a place where people who can't afford healthcare can come, where you can use your skills to help people who need it. Your clinic, your rules, your vision. I'll fund it completely, hire whatever staff you need, but it's yours." Amina stared at him, tears streaming down her face. "Minho, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. You're brilliant and compassionate, and you became a nurse to help people. Marcus made you work in a hospital that drained you dry. I'm giving you the chance to do it right, to build something that matters. This is too much. It's not enough. It'll never be enough." He kissed her tears away. "Let me give you the world, Amina. Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you have everything you've ever dreamed of." How could she say no to that? She couldn't. She just held him and cried and loved him so much it hurt. The next morning, Amina woke to find Minho already awake, watching her with soft eyes. "Morning, wife." "Morning, husband." She smiled. "That sounds strange. It sounds perfect." He pulled her close. "I have a question." "What? How do you feel about children?" Amina's breath caught. "Children? Eventually. Not now, but someday. I want a family with you. Want to see you round with my child. Want to watch you teach them to be strong and kind and brilliant like you." His hand settled on her flat stomach. "Want to fill this penthouse with laughter and chaos and love." "I want that too," she whispered. "Someday." "Good." He kissed her, slow and deep. "Because I plan to practice extensively until someday arrives." 2 months later, Amina stood in front of her new clinic, watching workers install the sign. "Okonkwo Free Clinic." It read in English and Korean. Minho stood beside her, his hand warm on her lower back, pride evident in his expression. "It's perfect," she said. "You're perfect." He pulled her close. "And this is just the beginning." He was right. The clinic opened to overwhelming response, people flooding in who'd been unable to afford care before. Amina worked long hours, but it was different now. She was building something, helping people, making a real difference. And Minho supported her completely, never complaining about her hours, always making sure she ate and slept and took care of herself. Their life settled into a rhythm. Minho's dangerous business, which Amina learned to accept even if she didn't always understand it. Her clinic, which became her passion. Their love, which only grew stronger as the months passed. 6 months after their wedding, Amina woke up feeling strange, nauseous and exhausted in a way that felt familiar but different. She took a test, just to be sure, and stared at the positive result with shaking hands. She was pregnant. That night, she made Minho his favorite dinner, wore the dress he loved, set candles on the table. When he came home, he immediately knew something was different. "What's going on?" "Sit down. I have something to tell you." He sat, his expression concerned. "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect." She took his hand, placed it on her still flat stomach. "We're having a baby." For a moment, Minho didn't react, just stared at her stomach, his hand trembling slightly. Then he looked up, and his eyes were wet. "A baby?" "A baby, due in about 7 months." He stood, pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. "We're having a baby," he repeated, like he needed to hear it again to believe it. "We're having a baby." He kissed her, tasting like joy and tears and absolute love. "I'm going to be a father." "You're going to be an amazing father." They stood there, wrapped in each other, and Amina felt her heart overflow. A year ago, she'd been broken and lost, running through the rain, ready to give up on everything. Now she was loved and safe, with a husband who worshipped her and a baby growing inside her and a future so bright it hurt to look at. "Thank you," Minho whispered against her hair. "For what?" "For running into the rain that night, for letting me save you, for loving me back, for giving me this." His hand pressed gently against her stomach. "For giving me everything." Amina smiled through her tears. "Thank you for stopping, for seeing me, for deciding I was worth the trouble. You were never trouble. You were salvation." 9 months later, Amina lay in a hospital bed, exhausted and triumphant, holding a tiny baby girl with Minho's dark eyes and her round face. Minho sat beside her, looking at their daughter like she was a miracle. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She is." Amina kissed their daughter's forehead. "What should we name her?" "Hope," Minho said immediately. "Because that's what you gave me that night in the rain. Hope that life could be more than just surviving. Hope that I could be more than what I'd become. Hope for a future worth fighting for." "Hope," Amina repeated. "I love it." They sat there, the three of them, a family built from broken pieces and rain-soaked streets and dangerous love. And as Amina looked at her husband holding their daughter, his expression soft and unguarded and absolutely in love, she knew she'd made the right choice. All those months ago, when she'd been broken and bleeding and ready to give up, she'd run into the rain, and Minho had found her there, had decided she was worth saving, had loved her back to life. He'd given her everything: a home, a purpose, a family, a love that consumed and healed in equal measure, and she'd given him the same, had shown him that strength wasn't just about power and control. That love was worth the risk. That vulnerability was brave, not weak. They'd saved each other, and now they'd built something beautiful from the ashes of her old life. "I love you," she whispered to Minho. "I love you too," he said, kissing her softly. "My wife, my life, my everything." And as baby Hope yawned and stretched, innocent and perfect and theirs, Amina knew that sometimes the worst nights led to the best mornings, that sometimes you had to break completely before you could rebuild into something stronger, that sometimes the man who offered you revenge wrapped in expensive cologne and a dangerous smile wasn't offering revenge at all. He was offering forever. And forever, Amina had learned, was worth every risk, every fear, every moment of doubt. Because forever with Minho meant being loved completely, protected fiercely, and cherished absolutely. It meant being home, and that was worth everything. 3 years later, Amina stood in the garden of their new home, a sprawling estate on the outskirts of Seoul that Minho had bought when Hope started walking and the penthouse became too small. She watched her daughter chase butterflies through the flowers, her laughter bright and pure, while her hand rested on the swell of her stomach where their second child grew. "Mama, look!" Hope called in a mix of Korean and English, holding up a flower she'd picked. "Pretty, very pretty, baby." Amina smiled, her heart so full it ached. "Bring it here." Hope ran to her, dark curls bouncing, and presented the flower like a treasure. Minho's eyes and Amina's spirit. Their daughter was fearless and loving and completely unaware of the dangerous world her father navigated to keep her safe. "For you," Hope said solemnly, placing the flower in Amina's hand. "Thank you, sweetheart." Amina kissed her forehead. "Now go play. Daddy will be home soon." As if summoned by the mention of him, Minho's car pulled up the long driveway. Hope squealed and ran toward him, tiny legs pumping, and Amina watched her husband scoop their daughter up, spin her around, his face transformed by joy. He'd been in Tokyo for 3 days, a business trip he'd tried to cancel when Amina had morning sickness, but she'd insisted he go. The world didn't stop because she was pregnant. He walked toward her with Hope on his hip, his free hand already reaching for Amina. When he got close enough, he pulled her against him, careful of her stomach, and kissed her like he'd been gone months instead of days. "I missed you," he murmured against her lips. "I missed you too." She touched his face, noting the exhaustion in his eyes. "How was Tokyo?" "Profitable. Boring without you. I don't want to talk about it." He set Hope down gently. "Go find Mrs. Kim, baby. Tell her Daddy's home and we're ready for dinner." Hope ran off, still holding her flower, and Minho immediately pulled Amina close again, his hands settling possessively on her stomach. "How are you? How's our son?" "We're fine. He's been kicking up a storm today." She placed his hand where the baby was moving. "Feel that?" Minho's expression softened, filled with the same wonder he'd shown when Hope was born. "He's strong. Like his father." Amina leaned into him. "You look tired." The Yamamoto situation required more attention than expected, but it's handled now. He kissed her temple. "And I'm taking the next 2 weeks off. No trips, no emergencies. Just us. You're due in a month and I'm not missing a single moment." "Minho, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I missed too much of Hope's first year because I was busy building empires. I won't make that mistake again." His voice was firm. "You and our children come first. Everything else can wait." 3 years of marriage, and he still took her breath away with his intensity, his absolute commitment to their family. Marcus had made her feel like an obligation. Minho made her feel like his entire world. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Hope chattered about her day, mixing languages like most bilingual children did, while Minho listened with complete attention and Amina watched them both, her heart overflowing. After dinner, Minho gave Hope a bath, read her 3 stories, and sang her to sleep in Korean, his voice soft and surprisingly good. When he finally emerged from Hope's room, he found Amina in their bedroom, standing by the window looking out at the gardens lit by moonlight. "You're thinking again," he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind, careful of her stomach. "I can hear it from here. Just remembering." "Remembering what?" "That night. 4 years ago, running through the rain, broken and lost, thinking my life was over." She leaned back against him. "If someone had told me then that I'd end up here, married to you, with a daughter and a son on the way, running a clinic that helps hundreds of people, happy in ways I didn't think were possible, I wouldn't have believed them." "I would have." His lips brushed her neck. "I knew the moment I saw you that you were going to change my life, knew you were important, knew I'd do anything to keep you. You burned down a building for me. I'd burn down the whole world for you." He turned her in his arms, cupped her face. "You and our children, you're everything. The empire, the money, the power, it's all meaningless if you're not here." "Very romantic for a crime lord." "Former crime lord." He smiled slightly. "I've been transitioning to legitimate business for 2 years now. By the time our son is born, I'll be completely clean. No more dangerous situations, no more enemies trying to use you against me. Just a boring businessman with a beautiful wife and perfect children." Amina knew it wasn't that simple, knew that leaving his old life behind required careful maneuvering and calling in favors and probably violence she didn't ask about. But she also knew he was doing it for them, for their family, because he wanted Hope and their son to grow up safe. "I love you," she whispered. "So much it scares me sometimes." "Good. I'd be worried if it didn't." He kissed her softly. "Because I love you the same way. Completely, obsessively, in ways that probably aren't healthy but feel too good to question." They made love slowly, carefully, Minho worshipping her pregnant body with the same devotion he always had. Afterward, as they lay tangled together, his hand on her stomach feeling their son move, Amina felt that same peace she'd felt on their wedding night. She was home. Not in this house, not in Seoul, but here in Minho's arms. That was home. "Tell me about the clinic," he said quietly. "How's the expansion going?" "Good. We're seeing twice as many patients as last year. The prenatal program is thriving. And that donation you made, the anonymous one, it allowed us to hire 3 more doctors." She poked his chest. "You know I know it was you, right?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Minho." "Fine. Yes, it was me. Sue me for wanting to support my wife's passion." He grinned, unrepentant. "Besides, it's good PR. Kang Industries supporting community healthcare makes us look philanthropic." "You are philanthropic." "You just don't like admitting it." "I'm selfish. Everything I do is to make you happy, and your happiness happens to help other people. It's a fortunate side effect." He kissed her nose. "Now sleep. You're exhausted, and our son is going to wake you up kicking in 3 hours." He was right. She was exhausted. She closed her eyes, felt Minho's hand steady on her stomach, and drifted off feeling loved and safe and grateful for rain-soaked nights and dangerous men with kind eyes. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. Amina was in the garden with Hope when Ji-won appeared, followed by Seo and Jin-woo, all three looking serious. "Is Min-ho here?" Ji-won asked. "In his office. What's wrong?" "Nothing for you to worry about." But Ji-won's expression suggested otherwise. "Can you watch Hope for a bit? We need to talk to him." Amina's instincts, honed by 4 years of being married to Min-ho, started screaming. "What happened?" "Later. Let us talk to him first." They disappeared into Min-ho's home office, and Amina tried to focus on Hope, on playing with her daughter, but her mind raced. Something was wrong. Something was happening. And whatever it was serious enough that all 3 of Min-ho's closest associates had shown up unannounced. An hour later, Min-ho emerged, his expression carefully neutral. "Amina, can you come here, please?" She settled Hope with Mrs. Kim, their housekeeper, and went to his office. Seo and Jin-woo left immediately, but Ji-won stayed, her presence suggesting Amina might need support. "What's going on?" Amina asked. Min-ho gestured to a chair, waited until she sat. "Marcus is dead." The words hit like a physical blow. Amina felt her breath catch, her hand automatically going to her stomach. "What? How?" "Car accident. 2 days ago in Lagos. He was there on business, apparently." Min-ho's voice was clinical, factual. "Zara was with him. She survived, but she's in critical condition." Amina's mind spun. Marcus, dead. Zara, dying. She should feel something, grief, maybe, or sadness, but all she felt was a distant sort of shock. "The reason I'm telling you," Min-ho continued, "is that Zara's family is in Nigeria. You're her only relative in Korea. The hospital is asking for next of kin to make medical decisions if she doesn't improve. She betrayed me, slept with my husband. Why would they call me? Because despite everything, you're her twin. Her emergency contact still lists you." He moved closer, knelt beside her chair. "I'll handle this if you want. You don't have to see her, don't have to do anything. Just say the word and I'll make sure she's taken care of without involving you." Amina was quiet for a long moment, processing. Marcus was dead. The man she'd married, who'd destroyed her, who'd moved on with her sister without a second thought, was gone. And Zara, her twin, the sister she'd loved more than anyone, was lying in a hospital bed fighting for her life. "I want to see her," she said finally. "Amina. I need to see her, Min-ho. Need closure or understanding or something. I don't know, but I can't just ignore this." He studied her face, then nodded. "Okay, but I'm coming with you, and if at any point you want to leave, we leave. No arguments." The hospital was sterile and cold, full of beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic. Zara's room was in the ICU, and when they entered, Amina barely recognized the woman in the bed. Bandages covered most of her head, machines breathed for her, and the resemblance to Amina was now marred by injuries and unconsciousness. "The doctors say she'll likely survive," Ji-won said quietly. She'd insisted on coming, standing by as support. "But she'll need months of recovery, physical therapy, possible cognitive issues." Amina moved closer to the bed, looked down at the sister she'd once shared everything with. They'd been inseparable as children, finishing each other's sentences, feeling each other's pain. When had that connection broken? When had Zara stopped seeing Amina as family and started seeing her as competition? "I'm pregnant," Amina said to the unconscious woman. "With my second child. I have a daughter now, Hope. She's beautiful and smart and everything I ever wanted. I'm married to a man who loves me completely, who would destroy the world to keep me safe. I run a clinic that helps hundreds of people. I'm happy, Zara. Really, truly happy." Tears burned her eyes, but they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of release, of letting go of the last piece of pain she'd been carrying. "I forgive you," she whispered. "Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I forgive you for betraying me, for hurting me, for taking someone I thought I loved. I forgive you because holding on to anger was poisoning me, so I'm letting it go. I'm letting you go." She turned to Min-ho. "I'm ready to leave now." He took her hand without a word, led her out of the hospital, and in the car, she cried. Not for Marcus, not for Zara, but for the girl she'd been 4 years ago, broken and lost in the rain. She cried for that version of herself, said goodbye to her, and embraced the woman she'd become. Better? Minho asked when her tears finally stopped. Better. She squeezed his hand. Thank you for understanding why I needed that. I understand everything about you. He pulled her close. That's what love is. 2 weeks later, Zara woke up. The hospital called, and this time Amina went alone, leaving Minho with hope despite his protests. This was something she needed to do by herself. Zara looked smaller in the hospital bed, fragile in a way she'd never been before. Her eyes opened when Amina entered, and something like recognition flickered there. Amina. Her voice was hoarse, damaged. You came. I came. Amina sat in the visitor's chair, kept her distance. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a car. Which I did. A ghost of Zara's old humor. Marcus is dead. I know. I'm sorry. Are you? Zara's eyes were sharp despite the pain. He hurt you. Destroyed your marriage. Why would you be sorry? Because despite everything, he was a person. And you loved him. Amina met her sister's gaze. I'm sorry you lost someone you cared about. Zara was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry too. For what I did. For betraying you. For choosing him over you. Tears leaked from her eyes. I was jealous. You always had everything together, always knew what you wanted, always succeeded. And I was just the messy twin, the one who couldn't keep a job, couldn't maintain relationships. When Marcus paid attention to me, I felt special for once. Felt like I'd won something. You didn't win, Zara. You just destroyed something. I know. And I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, doesn't change what I did. But I am sorry. Amina wanted to hate her, wanted to throw the apology back in her face and leave. But looking at her sister, broken and alone, she couldn't find the anger anymore. Just pity and a distant sort of affection for who they'd once been to each other. I forgive you, Amina said. I forgave you 2 weeks ago, when you were unconscious. I'm saying it again now so you can hear it. I forgive you, Zara, but that doesn't mean I'm letting you back into my life. We're not going to be close again. We're not going to be the sisters we were. Too much has broken between us. I understand. Zara's voice was small. Can I at least know if you're okay? If you're happy? I'm very happy. I have a husband who loves me, a daughter who's perfect, and another baby on the way. I run a clinic that helps people. My life is full and good and everything I ever wanted. I'm glad. And Zara sounded like she meant it. You deserve to be happy. They talked for a few more minutes, surface-level things, and when Amina left, she felt lighter. The last piece of her old life had been addressed, forgiven, released. She could move forward now without any shadows following her. Minho was waiting in the car, Hope asleep in her car seat. He took one look at Amina's face and knew. Done? Done. She climbed in, let him pull her close. It's all behind me now. Everything that happened, everyone who hurt me, it's all just history. I'm free. You were always free. You just needed to realize it. 3 weeks later, on a beautiful spring morning, Amina went into labor. Minho, who'd been calm and controlled when Hope was born, completely lost it. He paced the delivery room, held her hand too tight, and looked like he might pass out when things got intense. You're supposed to be the calm one, Amina gasped between contractions. I lied. I'm terrified. You're in pain and I can't fix it and I hate this. Despite everything, she laughed. Just hold my hand and breathe. I am breathing. I meant calmly. Their son arrived 6 hours later, screaming his displeasure at being born. He was perfect, with Minho's dark hair and Amina's round cheeks and lungs that suggested he'd be as loud as his sister. They named him Daniel, after Amina's father who'd passed when she was young. Minho held his son with the same wonder he'd shown with Hope, tears streaming down his face unashamedly. We made this, he said in awe. We made this perfect human. We did. Amina was exhausted and elated and so in love with her family it hurt. 2 perfect humans now. Do you want more? He looked at her hopefully. Eventually. Let's survive the first 2 years of this one before we talk about more. He laughed, kissed her softly. Whatever you want. As long as I have you and our children, I have everything. The first month with 2 children was chaos. Hope adjusted to having a brother with mixed results, sometimes loving and sometimes jealous. Daniel cried constantly and slept barely. Minho, true to his word, took time off work and was there for every late night, every diaper change, every moment. I never knew I could be this tired and this happy at the same time, Amina said one night, watching Minho pace with Daniel while Hope slept between them. This is what life is supposed to be, messy and exhausting and perfect. He looked at their sleeping daughter, their crying son and his wife, and smiled. This is everything. 6 months later, things had settled into a new normal. Daniel was sleeping better. Hope had accepted her role as big sister, and Amina had returned to work at the clinic part-time. Minho's business transition was complete, all his holdings now legitimate, all his dangerous connections severed. They were, for all intents and purposes, a normal family. Well, as normal as any family could be when the father was worth billions, and the mother ran a charity clinic, and their daughter spoke 3 languages at age 4. On their 4th anniversary, Minho surprised Amina with a trip. Just the 2 of them, leaving Hope and Daniel with his mother for a long weekend. They went to Jeju Island, stayed in a villa on the beach, and spent 3 days doing nothing but being together. On their last night, they walked along the beach under the stars, and Minho pulled her close. "Do you remember what I told you that first night?" he asked. "You told me a lot of things. I told you I believed in collecting debts, that you owed me for helping you. I remember." She'd thought about that often, wondering what price he'd exact. "You never collected." "Yes, I did." He turned her to face him, his expression soft in the moonlight. "You gave me everything. Your trust, your love, your body, your future. You gave me Hope and Daniel. You gave me a reason to be better, to do better, to want more than just power and money. That debt was paid 1,000 times over." "Minho, let me finish." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Amina's breath caught. "You're already my wife. You've already given me everything. But I wanted to do this properly, wanted to ask instead of demand." He opened the box, revealing a ring, simple and perfect, with a single diamond that caught the starlight. "Amina Okonkwo Kang, mother of my children, love of my life, my salvation and my home, will you stay married to me? Will you choose me every day for the rest of our lives? Will you grow old with me and raise our children and build a future that's better than anything we could have imagined?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes, always yes." He slid the ring onto her finger, next to her wedding band, and kissed her like it was the first time and the last time and every time in between. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "More than I thought I could love anything. I love you too. More than words can say." They stood on that beach, wrapped in each other, and Amina felt the last piece of her journey complete. She'd come to Seoul broken and lost, had married the wrong man, had been betrayed by everyone she trusted. But from those ashes, she'd built something beautiful. She'd found herself, found her strength, found a man who loved her not despite her flaws but because of them, who saw her at her worst and decided she was worth fighting for. She'd found her home. And as they walked back to the villa, hand in hand, Amina looked back at the path she'd walked. From that rain-soaked street where Minho had found her, to this beach where they renewed their promises, she'd traveled so far. She'd been broken and put herself back together. She'd been betrayed and learned to trust again. She'd been lost and found her way home. And home, she'd learned, wasn't a place. It was a person. It was Minho's arms around her at night, Hope's laughter in the morning, Daniel's tiny hand wrapped around her finger. It was the life they'd built together from nothing, the family they'd created against all odds, the love that had saved them both. 10 years later, Amina stood in the garden of their estate, now expanded and filled with the sounds of children. Hope was 14, brilliant and beautiful and everything Amina had hoped she'd be. Daniel was 10, curious and kind and absolutely devoted to his little sister Rose, who at 5 was a perfect mix of both her parents. And twin boys, 3-year-old Matthew and Michael, ran through the flowers, chasing butterflies just like Hope had done years ago. The clinic had grown into a network of 3 locations, providing free healthcare to thousands. Minho's business empire was vast and completely legitimate, philanthropic in ways that made him a respected figure in Seoul society. They'd built something real, something lasting, Something good. You're thinking again. Minho's arms wrapped around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. After 14 years together, he could still read her like a book, just grateful. For what? For everything. For you, for our children, for this life. She turned in his arms. For that night 14 years ago when you decided I was worth saving. You saved me, remember? We saved each other. He kissed her softly. And I'd do it all again. Every moment, every choice, every risk, I'd do it all again to end up here with you. I love you, she whispered. Still, always, forever, forever, he agreed. Starting now and never ending. Their children's laughter filled the air. Hope calling for them to come watch Daniel teach Rose how to kick a soccer ball. The twins demanding attention. The beautiful chaos of a large family. Minho took her hand, and together they walked toward their children, toward their future, toward everything they'd built together. And as Amina looked at her family, at this life that had seemed impossible 14 years ago, she knew that sometimes the worst betrayals led to the best beginnings. Sometimes you had to break completely to rebuild into something stronger. Sometimes the man who found you in the rain wasn't offering temporary shelter but a permanent home. She'd been caught in the rain that night, broken and bleeding and ready to give up. And Minho had found her there, had decided she was worth keeping, had loved her back to life. He'd given her everything she'd ever dreamed of and more. A home, a family, a purpose, a love that consumed and healed in equal measure. And she'd given him the same, had shown him that power wasn't everything, that vulnerability was strength, that love was worth every risk. They'd saved each other, and in the process, they'd built something beautiful, something lasting, something worth every moment of pain that had come before. This was home, this was love, this was everything, and it was perfect. Welcome to K-fairytales stories, besties. If you loved Amina and Minho's journey from betrayal to forever love, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought. Would you have given love another chance after such betrayal? What was your favorite moment? Share this video with someone who loves epic romance stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.